Well, first of all, let's have a round of applause for Adam, who's kindly come down to... I suppose you're going to put him under the cosh and stuff now with some awkward questions, but I'm sure he'll deal with it, won't you, mate?
Let's do my best, Lee, do my best.
Okay, let's get it going. Andy, first question, please.
Well, firstly, can I just thank you all for coming this evening. I think one of the things that we want to try and do as a club is create feedback, engagement, and also keep the fans up to date with what's going on both on and off the field. So after the first one we did pre-Christmas, we found it was very useful. Thought some of the questions were very thought-provoking, and to be fair, you're actually very kind, so I'm hoping that you repeat that this evening. But anyway, like I said, welcome and many thanks for giving your time this evening. Feel free to ask questions as and when.
I'll ask the first one then.
Go on then, Dean.
The fly half situation.
Oh, mate. It's, the situation around the fly halves. So I remember in our first year, it was tightened prop, so we couldn't get our tightened prop. I think we used 4 or 5 in the first year that we were here pre-COVID. And then this year we've used 5 fly halves already. So obviously Ben Palmer had that serious injury, and Ben's making great strides to get back onto the pitch. He's still a little bit away from where he needs to be, but he's made remarkable recovery in terms of his physiotherapy, and he's back training with the lads, but he probably still needs about another 4 or 5 weeks to get back to where he needs to be. And then we had Jacob Futrell, who stepped up, great young find, and then unfortunately Jacob went and dislocated his shoulder in training. Freak accident. Dan Lewis comes in, and we all remember Dan from year 1 when he played at 15 against Sinnerford and scored that lovely try in the bottom left-hand corner. Due to play against Sinnerford, he rolls his ankle. And then Elliot Bale's come in from Nottingham, has done really well, but got concussed against Chinner. So I think we're going to burn the 10 shirt. We're going to start with a new number. But so at the moment, 10 is a problem for us. We can't seem to get continuity in that area, and I think what you probably all agree, when we do get a natural 10 playing, the team functions really well. We get that zip from the forwards and the backs, we get that cohesiveness that we're looking for, and like I said, hopefully we fill that forward quickly, and hopefully either Elliot comes back or one of the other lads comes back from injuries sooner rather than later. However, whoever steps in at 10, I'm sure they do a fantastic job, and I thought Ollie Allsop, when he stepped in at 10 at Chinner at the weekend, certainly steadied the ship, and he looked a dangerous threat, and to be fair, there was no difference in how the team played.
No. Obviously, with the situation with Elliot Bale at the moment, I think it's concussion, is it?
Yeah.
So that's 3 weeks.
Well,
are you looking at extending his loan afterwards if you could?
Yeah, so the concussion thing is interesting, Dean. So depending on what level you play at, depends on the protocol you follow. So at National 1, because we're semi-pro, it's a mandatory 3 weeks. Championship, I believe it's reviewed after 2. So in theory, he could be with us week after next if Nottingham bring him back to us. I'm speaking to them at the moment regarding what may or may not happen. That's down to them to discuss their end. Obviously, I think they've got 7 games now on the bounce, so their games are going to come thick and fast. And they'll probably want all the players that they can get available for them in terms of selection. But as I said, Elliot came in, he did really well, fitted in really well with the lads. Just a shame he got concussed, but it happens. It's the nature of the sport, and hopefully he'll bounce back. And if he's not with us, if he's back with Nottingham, we wish him every success. But if he does manage to come back to us, we'll welcome him in, and hopefully he can carry on from where he left off.
Yeah, I think we function really well with him as a big team.
No, he's a great lad. He's a good professional. Speaks well, controls the game well. Commands respect, and that's what we want from your 10. He's a general, and he's certainly steered the ship, which is what we wanted.
I'm not sure I understand why there'd be a difference with head injury between that one and Championship.
It's to do if you've got a full-time doctor. It's to do whether you have a doctor or not. So Championship, he'll be reviewed on a daily basis. Where at National 1 level, because you're only in twice a week, you only get seen twice a week. I might be wrong. It's what I've been told. So.
Still seems strange.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well,
the head injuries.
That's head injuries. Yeah, that's head injuries for you. So no, I agree.
Okay, anybody else? Next question, please, from the floor.
Can I ask, well done Saturday.
Thank you very much.
How many scrum penalties were there?
Too many, loads. So
You think that was going to happen beforehand?
So the amount of scrum penalties that we had from the weekend, and I think there was 15 scrums in total. I think the penalty count was 17-5 in our favour. So our discipline on the day, which is something that we spoke about going into Chinner, but going into the game the week previous, was something that we wanted to rectify because we've been on the wrong side of 15 and 16 penalties. To come off the pitch only giving away 5 was incredible. We identified that Chinner were vulnerable at the scrum because we'd watched the games the week previous against Cinderford, and I thought the pack was superb. I thought the front row lads and the backs were especially appreciative of the hard work the boys put in. But to get a penalty try just before the end of the first half, right at the end of the second half, and it certainly changed the mood on the sideline, and it went definitely quiet, believe it or not. So, but look, it's the hard work the lads put in. You have to understand that the boys train really hard on a Tuesday and a Thursday. That the unit sessions, they really do climb into each other, and I think what we're seeing now is the direct impact of hard work that the boys have put in over the last 8 to 10 weeks. And sometimes that success doesn't always happen, and you get frustrated and you think we're working so hard, but we're not seeing the just reward. But I thought we saw it Saturday, and I think we've seen it since Cinderford away, to be honest with you. In fact, probably Sale away. Sale away, I know we didn't score a point, I know we were on the wrong end of the result, but I thought it was a much more positive performance, and I thought these last 5 games that we've played, we've certainly displayed. If there is a Moseley way, I think we've kind of displayed it in these last 5 games.
So
Okay.
I'll follow up with just to say congratulations. You've made all the right calls, and I'm Caelan's dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
I thought you made all the right calls.
Yeah, for those who don't know, this is Killian, who's Caelan Ryan's father.
And I watched the Cinderford game.
Yeah.
I thought the exact same thing, and that's been Chinner's weak point all year. And if Chinner had done the same
Yeah.
thing, they might have won, and instead they lost a game they should have won, and you did exactly the right thing.
Well, we identified that Chinner are probably one of the most dangerous sides in the league with ball in hand. They play a very expansive game, can score from anywhere. But I thought the technical and tactical side that we got right going into the game was superb. We had that try which was questionable on the forward pass, and also one of Chinner's tries. I'm not going to go there, but it was rewarded off the back of a 50-22, which should never have happened. The breakdown was in our half, the ball was passed back over the halfway line, they kicked into the 22, got awarded a line out which should have been ours, and subsequently scored off the back of it. So, I guess there's swings and roundabouts, and I'm glad in a way that the result went our way, and 5 points on the road, we'll certainly take it.
Excellent. So
In terms of the one club approach about bringing the club closer together, about unifying the club from the bottom up, top down, one of the ways that we can do that is certainly look at how the players are possibly contracted ahead of next season. I know there's some lads who have got coaching aspirations, some boys are doing their badges, and I think we have to be creative with how we try and get the best out of the resources that we have. And I've already approached a number of players, ironically, about how they can maybe get involved with a bit more coaching next year. The uptake has been very positive, and I think it's certainly something that we need to kind of move more towards. I guess the only thing we need to kind of iron out is probably the timings, because obviously we've got to make sure that Tuesday, Thursday is still it's paramount for the first team to go and develop and make sure we get the result on a Saturday. But if we can change the timings accordingly, or maybe even look to train on a different night, there's ways and means that we can do things, and if that means that we can get more player engagement from the first team and from Moseley Oak and former players, and that's something we can look at without a doubt. So just on your point, it's a valid point about trying to do like a joined up training session with the 15s and 16s. If you look at the model that we're trying to put in place, obviously the whole of the club is important, right from the macros to the micros, all the way up to the first team, the ladies, etc. But what we want to really try and focus our attention to is from the 15s, 16s, Colts, women, the Education Academy, Moseley Oak, and really try and drive all the resources there, because that's the conveyor belt, that's the player of tomorrow. And if we're going to fix the club in terms of having local players playing for the club, if you look at the first team squad, probably 60% of our squad have to travel in from over an hour out. So we need to try and rectify that over the years. To come, how do you do that? Where you create jobs, or you bring in opportunities for players to come through on that conveyor belt to then want to stay and play for the club, develop and become that player of tomorrow. So you know, I totally agree with you. I think that is something that needs to be rectified. It's something that is on the horizon, and it's something that we're aware of. And if we can put processes in place to do that, we will.
Excellent, thank you.
Alan, I think it's more important that it's not about the players, it's about our future players. Our under 15s, 16s, they'll get an old geezer like me come along and they'll think, what the bloody hell's he doing? They'll get one of your lads come out and they will, wow, the first team are out here coaching us. And it's that wow factor we've got to give back to these youngsters. And I know you've got to find the right guys to do it, but you know, there's still the pull, the first team players are still the pull in the club, and these youngsters look up to them, and you know, so it's not just about the coach, it's about these young lads seeing first team players out there and being taught.
I agree, you know, it's about the younger players, you know, rubbing shoulders with the first team players. I think, how can we also look to that, where we can get as many of the different sections to the club on a Saturday, you know, come and support the first team, come and have your photo taken, come and do the pitch parade, come in the change rooms afterwards, come and meet the players firsthand. You know, that itself goes a long way.
I'm old school. I don't. Worcester and Wasps are doing all these things on our bloody doorstep. We've got the talent within our own club, both coaching and players. It's lovely to be able to do our own specialist clinics and things and get lads.
I agree. I think it's about resource though, and I think we have to remember we're semi-pro. I think we have to also remember these lads got full-time jobs. That's why the Super Sunday that was put in place. So I know it's been really hampered this year due to COVID. We wanted to support the Super Sundays right from day one. We haven't supported one yet with the first team players due to the fact that we had a COVID outbreak prior to Taunton away. That caused us a lot of problems internally, so we've had to keep our bubble kind of closed. Hopefully now with COVID restrictions loosening, maybe the next one we can get the lads to attend, which would be great. If we could maybe get the lads up maybe once a month, I think that might be a start. Once a month, if we could do an actual pigeonhole or target an actual Wednesday, as you've alluded to, but once a month, get some of the first team coaches down, some of the players, myself, and you know, we can then take that vested interest in those younger players without help. I totally agree with you. Moseley is what the top 40 clubs in the country. You know, it's elite, but it's inclusive. I go back to my original point as well, though. I think engagement is a two-way thing, so I agree. I think we should engage more, and it's something that will be addressed. But then the flip side of that is that can we get more 15 to 16-year-olds up on a Saturday, come and support the first team, come and get involved, you know, come and be a part of it, and maybe that's something we can look at as well. So it takes them on that journey. It's not just about the training; it's about the bigger picture. But no, I agree, great point. So yeah, the points for and against, which you've just raised in terms of how many points have we scored, how many points have we conceded so far this season. Well, I think like statistically, if you look at the stats, it's not probably giving a true reflection, because I think the last 4 games that we played in, so Chinner away, Cooley at home, Blackheath away, Cinderford away, I think collectively there, you know, our points tally hasn't been too bad. It's the games that have gone before that. So Bishop Stortford away, Sale away, Cambridge away, Plymouth away. The games where we never turned up. So you know, if we're still like that by the end of the season, I would say there's an issue. I know that with the hard work that's being put in and the direction we're now moving in from a performance perspective, and the way our attack is now functioning, I think you'll all agree the tries that we've scored since probably Cinderford away, we've scored some wilderness. I mean, some of the tries we've scored have been absolutely spectacular. So that's all credit to the players and to the coaches. So
let's just say, Adam, Saturday and the first 5 pints were 5 points.
So he had his first 5 points for 5 points.
That was before Saturday.
Great stuff. Well, I wish I could say the same while driving. So. How certain am I regarding the strength of the team? What's the strongest team? Yeah, pretty certain. I watch the lads closely. I'm always watching. I don't just look at how they perform. I look at their emotional state as well, because that's important. It's not just about the technical and tactical, it's about how they present themselves. It's been very difficult due to injury and lack of consistency and continuity with some of the players that have come in. Yeah, in fact, well, I in my mind, I pick the strongest team every week. In my mind. Can I what? Can I do it? Yeah, so yeah, I always pick the strongest team in my mind. So. Yes. Sorry, Dean. Yeah.
During the whole season, it seemed to it started very slowly. Every game started very slowly.
Yeah.
What are you doing to address that? The last couple of games have been a lot better. I'd say probably 90% of all the games have been slow starters for the first 5 or 10 minutes.
Just gone and bought a massive rocket. So what can we do to address the slow start that the club and the players have kind of presented themselves with? I think there's only been a couple of games where we've probably started the game and actually gone in front. One of the things that we've now looked at is the actual the timings on the day of a match, which I know probably sounds silly, but how do you package that up? What does it look like? What impact does that have on the players in terms of how they prepare both physically and mentally for that game? So we've made some changes for this week, believe it or not. So it's quite, that question was very timely, dude. I'll give you the £5 later. We've certainly changed our timings. We're looking at giving the lads more free time, and we want the lads just to concentrate on an hour as opposed to an hour and 45 minutes. So prior to this week, we would always come together an hour and 45 minutes before the game would start. We'd have meetings and this, that and the other. And to be honest with you, I think it's probably lost on the boys at the moment. We need to dress it back, concentrate on 1 hour prior to the game kicking off, and we'll put all the information and content there and see how that goes. And let's hope that we get the start we're looking for this weekend.
Yeah, I'd love to see the recap this weekend.
I think we own one, but we also have to understand they're a very good side. Cambridge are coming to us as one of the informed teams. You'd probably say arguably they've got the best set piece in the league. But we know that on our day we can better match anybody in the league. And we owe Cambridge one without a doubt. We didn't turn up down at their place. And, this week we'll give it our all and see where we are at 5 o'clock. But the psyche of rugby and sport in general it's not straightforward, and everybody prepares for games differently. You'll have some lads who will sit in the corner, they'll be very quiet. You'll have some lads who will be bouncing around like a Duracell bunny. You'll have some lads who get aggressive. Everyone's different, and it's how do you package up that complete performance, I guess, pre and during and post game. And for me, there is a little bit of psychology in there, and we're going to tweak it this weekend and see if we get that desired result in terms of that fast start. Well, we're here, so if we don't get that fast start, tell me after the game. Or should I say, just text me.
Okay, I think we've got some questions.
Yeah, we had a couple Andy Jameson sent in because he couldn't make it.
Do you want to read it into it?
Yeah. The first one is fairly lengthy, but he says, I'm still unclear about dual registered and loan player systems.
Yeah.
Recently we had more indoors for one game. Can we assume the loan period was simply for 1 week? Also, Riccati is now turning out for Bourneville on a regular basis. Is this the request of Wasps? If it is, why has he effectively stepped down the division? We had 2 props on loan from Worcester. Adam, at the last session, mentioned that Joe is now 3rd choice for Worcester, and as such will be required on a regular basis. Kai apparently has moved to Doncaster, so will not hear from Mosley again, I assume. Is there any intention to find replacements for these players?
So, at that time, regarding the props, first and foremost, we didn't actually need any additional props to come in. We've got 5 of our own, but to have Kai and Joe coming from Worcester, created respite for some of our players who were carrying niggles and knocks, but secondly, it freshened things up, and they're both quality lads, and they both fitted in, they stood out, they're real good, they had great contributions to the first team, and it was only ever going to be for a short period of time. Both Kai and Joe wanted to kick on. Ultimately, their goal is to play Premiership. They had the opportunity to go back to Worcester. I believe Kai is actually still with Worcester, and unfortunately Joe Morris is currently injured. But both great lads, real good players. We'd have them back in a heartbeat, and you know, that's the bigger picture about building relationships. And we talk about building relationships internally. It's equally important to do it externally, and you know, to build strong relationships with Wasps and Worcester. You know, will only benefit us long term. Regards to Ricky, Ricky is down at Bourville with the EAP players. They're allowed to register for 2 or 3 different clubs. Reason being because it's all about playing. It's about development. If you think about what these young lads have come off the back of, you know, some of the M&J coaches will probably concur. The fact is these lads have missed 18 months of rugby. It really does damage their development at such a critical time. So if they're not with us and they're not in the first team squad, they have to play, they need to play. And the priority is their development. It's not about, you know, being a travelling reserve or getting 10 minutes for us. It's about making sure that these lads are being developed accordingly. So Ricky is down at Bourville. Personally, it's not a step down. I think it's an opportunity for the young man to apply his trade and to continue to grow confidence and belief in himself. And he's gone really well for them. So if there's an opportunity to bring him back into Moseley, at least he's coming back into us, match fit and ready to go. I can't remember who you said before that. Morgan Dawes. Oh yeah, so Morgan Dawes, again, London Scottish didn't have a game that weekend. We had Liam Monroe had hurt his back. Obviously we just come off the back with Will Safe blowing out his knee. So we were a little bit light on the ground. We wanted to make sure that Liam could have respite and recover, get over his back injury. So Morgan was available, and you know, he was a fan's favourite. I'm sure by bringing him in, everyone was pleased to see him back in a Moseley shirt, and he did himself proud. Had a great game, scored a try, and typical Morgan fashion, you know, was a whirlwind for 80 minutes, which is what we wanted. So.
Thanks. Andy's got a second question. Is our latest signing likely to feature in the coming weeks?
Yes. So our latest signing, Toyo Agolo, yeah, he's definitely going to feature in the coming weeks. The thing is with anything, when lads come into a club, unless you've got an injury crisis, it's really important that they train their way into the team. I believe that you shouldn't just hand things out to people. When you do, you dilute what you're trying to create. And he's turned up, he's fit in, he's stood out, he's a lovely lad. He looks like he's going to be a hell of a player, and yes, he will be involved soon, very soon, very, very soon. There you go. I can't say any more than that.
Has he learnt the laws yet?
Sorry?
Has he learnt the laws yet?
Has he learnt? So Toyo obviously comes from a background of rugby league. I don't know if anyone's actually looked him up on the internet. His clips of rugby are very good. He actually has come from he has played rugby union previously, so he's okay with the laws. Yeah. But we just want him to stand his feet, so he's fine.
Blame that first receiver.
That's right. Anybody? Any more questions? Yeah.
Is there a charge of playing being allowed to the club like that?
Sorry.
Is there a charge?
Yeah. So when players come in and out of the club, there is an administration charge that we have to deal with the RFU. It's not. Yeah. To be fair, they've made it a lot more simpler than what it has been over years gone by. But again, I guess that's the difficulty with when you've got your squad and you creak in certain positions. You have to constantly strengthen that squad. You want to make sure that you're still competitive and you're breeding competition for places. And you know, yeah, there are fees attached, and I'll just pass the invoices up.
No, those are the two.
Nothing else, guys? From,
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, hi. So we've seen JC step up to the first team squad recently.
Yeah.
Is this a sign of things to come with Oak players sort of breaking into the first team?
Yeah, so JC has obviously come up from Moseley Oak, so Moseley Oak's our sister club, playing at level 7 currently, sat in 3rd, having a great season. We train closely together, you know, part of the whole one club approach is trying to train closer with the different sections, so we train close with Moseley Oak. Moseley Oak train closer with the Colts and stuff like that, so it is about trying to bridge that gap and pull everybody up. JC trained with us during pre-season, got injured, and you know, with obviously the unfortunate injury to Ryan Roach where he tore his pec, we provided JC with an opportunity, and fair play I thought against Chile, he was superb. Unfortunately JC's not with us this weekend, he's actually unwell, So we hope he gets better soon for next week. But yeah, it is about trying to bring the club closer together with that.
Are we going to see Ryan back before the end of the season, do you think?
So Ryan Roach obviously tore his pec and bicep. There might be an outside opportunity that he could be fit by the end of the season. It's just risk versus reward. You know, if there's a chance for him to play in the last game, is it really worth it? Considering the fact that he could go and damage himself again. And, you know, that's a conversation we're having at the time. All I would say is he's training really hard. We talk about bringing the club closer together. Ryan's now currently coaching with the Colts and the women. So any of the injured players that we currently have, I try and push out into the different sections of the club, purely for the fact we want to bring the brand together, and it's having a good impact. So.
Can I ask you a question, Mr.
Depends if it's shortly.
Well, you know me, they're always very long. They're always very long.
I can't, my memory's terrible.
Can I ask you a question about this lot? What do you think of the support that we get? Is there anything I can do to wind them up even further on going up in that gantry on the Saturday afternoon?
What do I think about the support? I've got to be honest with you, I think the support is fantastic. I'm not just saying it. I think great clubs are underpinned by a core group of volunteers and a hardcore group of supporters, and this club, you know, it breathes it. You know, you see it on a weekly and a daily basis, and you know, I'm very grateful for the support you guys give us. And you know, I know you get frustrated at times, and like you say, you pay money to come and watch the boys play, but the lads are extremely grateful, and you know, from them, you know, all they ask is that you continually get behind them and believe that they work hard, because they do. And you know, what we try and do is make sure that we're transparent for you on a Saturday, and hopefully we give a performance that you can be proud of, the club can be proud of, you know, and hopefully the city, you know, accordingly, you know, alike. So, you know, going back to the original question, we are very grateful for everything you guys do, so thank you.
Well said. Is that it then, guys? Anybody else?
I'll ask one, Adam, if you don't mind. One of the challenges we had, I think, over the last few seasons is the churn of players and that, and I know you're keen to sort of try and build a core of players. How's things going with being able to get the budget together to be able to start looking at that earlier this season? Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, so in terms of success, if you look at teams that are probably at the top echelons of National One, and you know, teams that do well in the Premiership and Championship, you know, they have continuity and consistency of squads. Year one, there was a massive turnover of players. Year two, we didn't play any rugby, we still had quite a large turnover of players. But this year, hopefully we can hold on to the large bulk of the squad, add some additional players who will add some real quality and strength and depth, and then hopefully then next season we'll be able to kick on and carry on the momentum which we've generated this year. But first and foremost, let's turn our attention to the fact we've still got 12 games left. Yeah. There's 60 points on offer. The season is certainly not done. We've got our own, you know, ambitions where we'd like to finish in the league, and we can only take one game at a time. But it certainly starts this week in Cambridge. So,
higher finish, the better players you attract.
thank you. Cheers, man. Perfect. Spot on.
Perhaps while we got you on video, your prediction for the Six Nations? So we can play it back as well.
Well, there's a couple of, well, you've got to say that I think Ireland will surprise a lot of teams purely for the fact they're doing really well in the European Cup. Their provinces are smashing everybody. England and France will always be there, but I have to say there's a lot of chat coming out of Scotland at the moment, isn't there? So we'll have to wait and see where we'll see how they pitch up. But no, for me, I think Ireland will be the team that may cause a few upsets.
Can I have that in writing, please?
Decent now, anyway.
Adam?
Yes.
Can I have those predictions in writing?
Of course you can. Ireland, yeah, thank you.
You can always deny it all those.
What's that?
You can always deny it all those.
Okay.
That's good. No, she answers it.
Is there anybody else, guys, anybody else got any questions you want to ask? Feel free to ask anything about the squad, what you need. Anyone? No?
Okay, let's have a round of applause for Adam then.